Is communications ready to broadcast this meeting?
Our commissioner.
Okay, all right. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the May 12th, 2020 Cobb County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. And Ross Cavan is going to put the American flag on the screen here for everybody. So I would ask you to please stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America,
the Republic, for which is
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty
and justice for all. Okay. And I would ask those, please join me in a moment of silent thought and prayers for those that are out there in this time of need and the other considerations and cares and concerns you might have in your life. Amen. All right. So that we have first thing on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Rowley, how many speakers do we have today?
Chairman, I do. I think there's a lot of feedback that's coming through. I don't know if some are have mics on and they should be muted, but the first one that we have, first call-in person, I have a timer here that I'll keep track of them. We have 12 speakers. Does the board want to listen to all 12 of them at this time?
I'd like to get the sense of the board on that. Mr. Burrow, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think we should have them all at the beginning because some of them may be addressing things that we vote on. And if it's after the fact, it won't do any good. So do we know what they're speaking towards? If it's before the first six or before the agenda item, if they're speaking towards something specific?
No, we don't have a list of everything that people are saying. Some of them included that, some of them have not. So just be a matter of whether you want to listen to the first six now, or the first six at the end of the meeting, or the last six at the end of the meeting.
I vote all 12 now.
Commissioner Ott?
I think we should do all of them now, just because they've been on the line since 8:30.
Okay. Commissioner Gamble, I see you shaking your head. Okay.
Well, I think that's how it was advertised. So yes, I think we should do all 12 at once.
Okay. Commissioner Cupid?
I agree.
Okay. So, Bill, we have unanimous agreement to hear all 12 to begin with. So the first speaker, please.
The first speaker is Debbie Fisher. Ms. Fisher? Ms. Fisher, okay. You can go ahead and, 5 minutes. I'll keep a timer here and I'll let you know when your time runs out, okay? Yeah, you have 5 minutes to speak, and I'll start the timer here and I'll let you know when your time's run out, okay? Go ahead. Yeah, start.
Hazard pay. The Department of the Treasury apparently laid out the requirements that must be followed, and asking commissioners to vote with having the appropriate data on position qualifications is wrong. More concerning, paying 70% of the employee for hazard pay when we don't know what employees and what they're doing that is considered hazardous. In reference to the $1 million gift to the nonprofits, is that the role of local government? Or should we help people get back to work by assisting our small businesses who will hire employees who can stay in their homes and buy their own groceries? How many businesses could we get back on their feet by hiring people, generating sales tax, and get our economy on a positive track for long-term results for that $5.2 million? I'm speaking out today because people are not being given the true picture on the negative impact from COVID-19. We won't be fine if you continue down the path you're currently on. Having cut nothing, you continue to approve non-essential spending, refuse to acknowledge the loss in SPLOST revenue, and based on the MDJ, you're just fine with spending down our reserves for the second time during your first term. I'm asking all of you, be responsible. It's incumbent upon you to be stewards of our money, to evaluate every dime you're spending, evaluate all SPLOST projects to cut costs, remove projects that were not on the original referendum, and I ask everyone to question what you're being told. It is not fine, as the chairman and finance director said. We're bleeding money we can't recover. We must rely on reserves to pay our bills, but doing so without restraint in spending is inconceivable, especially for anyone who claims to be fiscally conservative. I ask you to be responsible with our money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Paige Overstreet.
Paige is not on the line. Oh, is she?
Yes, I
Oh,
am.
I'm sorry, Paige. Go ahead.
I'm here. That's okay.
Paige, you have five
Good morning,
minutes. I'll let you know when your time runs out.
I'm a member of a homeowners association, and we are in discussions about neighborhood pool. And I know at one of your former meetings, one of the representatives of the health department had mentioned they were looking at pool openings, but we would like to know, what are the guidelines? Are there guidelines from the county and from the public health department on when pools can open? How can they safely open? How can we keep our neighbors safe? And frankly, most importantly, how can we recommend and enforce social distancing when people have been in their homes for so long and are really anxious to get out and be in their pools?
Ms. Overstreet, anything else?
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. Can you repeat that?
Anything else?
Ms. Page, if you would send me an email at mike.boyce@cobbcounty.org, questions, I'll make sure that we respond to them with the answers that you're looking for, okay?
Okay, I'll wait here. It's very difficult to hear. There's a lot of distortion coming through. So are you saying you're going to give us information from the public health department or from Chairman Boyd?
Well, if you send me an email at mike.boyce@cobbcounty.org with those questions, I'll make sure you get answers to them, okay? Because it's a mixture of both county and public health guidelines.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Page.
Commissioners, the next speaker is Lance Lamberton. Mr. Lamberton? Mr. Lamberton?
He's in.
Mr. Lamberton? Give him 1 second. Come on.
Hi, Mr. Lamberton. Are you on the line?
Kimberly, see if we can go to the next speaker, Mr. Bottoms. Maybe we can come back to Mr. Lamberton.
Yes.
We go with Mr. Bottoms, Bill.
Yep.
Yes. Gary
Mr.
Bottoms
Bottoms?
is here.
Mr. Bottoms, go ahead. You have 5 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for listening. I'm here this morning on behalf of those in our community who are first suffering. And there's a lot of suffering going on. And secondly, those who provide help and hope along the way. And that's our nonprofit community. And why it's not just okay, but totally appropriate for our county government to support the cause. Our quality of life is better because of our nonprofits. There's an article in today's Wall Street Journal titled "Nonprofits Face a Bleak Future as Revenue Dries Up Amid Coronavirus." To borrow a line from that article, it says, "The virus-related disruption is an unprecedented calamity." And, based on my experience, only those who have volunteered understand the scope of what the organizations do. Most go way beyond just offering a free meal. Without a healthy nonprofit community that brings infrastructure and the volunteers they recruit, I believe many in need would end up on the doorsteps of our county government. I believe it's wise for governments to outsource to the community the missions that the community can do better. Margins have always been thin. The need has outstripped the resources. But in recent weeks, our economy has gone from 100 miles an hour to being crushed. As you know, 20 million people in the United States of America lost their jobs in April, and a couple of days ago, it was predicted to get worse before it gets better. Maybe more than 20% unemployed. Over 100,000 of the lost jobs were right here in Cobb County. To put that into perspective with a visual, I've done some math. If we had 100,000 people in the line 6 feet apart, properly socially distanced, the line would stretch from here to Macon. Now, I'm not saying all those folks would need financial help or food, but I do believe the need is real because many of the lost jobs were in the lower end of the economic ladder. Few have financial reserves, and many are isolated without a support system. Many are holding on to hope and maybe life itself with a slippery grip, and that's really sad. They need help. I know today you're voting on assistance for food, but for background, please remember there are nonprofits serving needs in the schools, serving victims of domestic violence, serving those with mental health issues, addiction, and much more. Because of the overwhelming need, resources are slim. And many of the steady financial supporters have already reached their personal giving limit. That is what their budget will allow. And along the way, some fundraisers have been canceled. To tell someone who is distraught and suffering just to go online and file an unemployment claim is not enough. No one plans to get into these predicaments. I believe most Americans want to be self-sufficient. It's in our core. The resources provided by the nonprofit community give a bright light of hope. One of life's biggest rewards is looking into the eyes of someone you've helped. That's what the nonprofits do every day. It's not easy, it's costly, emotionally, and financially. I can think of many good reasons to vote yes today, but I can't think of one legitimate reason to vote no. You have the opportunity today to speak together with a refreshing, positive voice of unity and light a candle with a big, bright flame for Cobb County. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Bottom.
Chairman, I think we have Mr. Lamberton back on the line now. Mr. Lamberton? Mr. Lamberton?
Yeah, this is Lance Lamberton. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hello?
Yes.
Sir, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, can I speak now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go for
Yes.
it.
Okay, hi. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. My name is Lance Lamberton. I live in Austell, and I'm the chairman of the Cobb Taxpayers Association, and it is on behalf of our members that I speak before you today. Most specifically, regarding the issue of approving taxpayer money to go towards supporting the work of nonprofit charitable organizations within our community. We do not believe that taxpayer funds should go towards that purpose. The very essence and nature of a nonprofit charity is to rely upon voluntary support. Just as a profit company competes for customers to voluntarily purchase their goods or services, so should a nonprofit charity be held to the same competitive standard. However, when the county chooses to support one charity over another, it is in essence picking winners and losers, thereby circumventing the choices that citizens would otherwise make for themselves, including the choice not to make any contributions. That is, or at least should be, their right. This issue also goes to the heart of what is the appropriate role for government in a free society. You know, when I think of what that appropriate role is for county government, I think of public safety, the county jail, fire protection, animal control, maintaining critical infrastructure, and the like. I do not see that role as providing food, clothing, and shelter for those in need. Private charities do an excellent job in that area, and in this current crisis, private citizens have stepped up to the plate to address that need in the form of increased contributions and voluntary support. Moreover, in this current environment when county resources are being stretched more than at any other time in recent history, we need to look for ways to economize and spend taxpayer resources only on those functions which are vital to the legitimate roles for which the county was established in the first place. While I know that giving nonprofits money from the public treasury is a popular thing to do at this point in time, that doesn't make it the right thing to do. The county needs to stay in its own lane and leave it to the nonprofits to do what they do best, that being to recognize where the needs are and to call upon the public to voluntarily choose whom to support and for how much. In this regard, I am a strong believer in the positive role that competition plays in earning that support. And I would hate to see the county circumvent that principle by taxing its citizens to support some charities and not others. Therefore, I respectfully request that you avoid the temptation to play the role of Santa Claus with our hard-earned money, and instead vote down the proposal to allocate $1 million to charitable nonprofit organizations within our county. With that, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to express our viewpoint on this important matter and regret that I could not do so in person.
Thank you, Mr. Lamberton.
The next speaker is Hill Wright.
Hill Wright.
Okay, I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wright, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I've been watching closely this year as things have unfolded. I'm very disturbed at what I've seen. I've seen plans for spending and good questions asked that are exposing half-baked plans. I don't see emphasis on cutting expenses or any transparency if there's an effort to cut. What are you going to cut? When the revenue doesn't come in, are you just going to put that on the back of taxpayers who are already stretched to the limit and already worried about surviving? Many small businesses have been devastated and not getting help as promised. The schools are going to get hit with a loss of revenue. People have been put out of work, and those that haven't are thankful to have a job and income. My son is a frontline medical worker. Many of his coworkers have gotten sick, lost income, and wonder how they're going to pay their bills. He's had to stay at the hospital for over 2 weeks because there wasn't anyone left. There are all sorts of sacrifices being made to get through this. But you want to give bonuses to county employees when the taxpayers paying for it don't get bonuses? That's just wrong and insulting. The county employees should be thankful they didn't have to worry the same as the taxpayers are having to worry. They should be thankful they had a job and be thankful, as many have already received $1,200 or $2,400 from taxpayers through the federal government. You want to hand out money to charities? That's not the job of the county. It's the community's job to help where it can. I'd like to see an overall plan for the county that manages the loss of revenue to the county and schools for this year and the coming years, so that loss isn't put on the back of the taxpayers. Get together with the school board and coordinate. This plan needs to be put forth before a cent is spent. Don't just blindly spend and expect us to make up the difference. And finally, every commissioner should be addressed respectfully and have a chance to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
The next speaker is Robin Meyer.
Robin Meyer?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Meyer.
May I go ahead?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Robin Meyer, and I'm the Vice President of the Mableton Improvement Coalition. I want to speak to you today about parks and about zoning. First up on the agenda would be parks. We're very happy to see the Mableton Town Square replacement playground on your consent agenda. 18 months ago, the Mableton Improvement Coalition partnered with Cobb Parks to hold a community input event right there on the square, asking residents what they wanted to see. At the very top of the list was the playground. So having this on your agenda is a huge boost for this historic downtown Mableton community. We want to shout out our thanks to the park staff, especially Tom Mills, Michael Brantley, and Barbara Savage, led by Jimmy Giese. All of these folks have invested a lot of time and energy in this project and involved us along the way. The playground is the biggest ticket item for this area, so it really will launch our efforts to fully develop this public space. The old playground is missed by the families in the neighborhood, so this is going to be welcome news with your approval. The community around this park, the area that we know as the historic center of Mableton, has really embraced the town square, and there's no doubt that it will become the focal point of this area. So we're looking forward to this playground very much. The other parks issue that I wanted to address quickly is the name for Discovery Park. My fellow board member, Ray Thomas, will provide more detail on our support for this name that you have before you today. But this name reflects unity, the future, and an appreciation for all that this park holds. We've been engaged for a long time, brought grant funds to this property so that the underlying development plan would be sound. We're looking forward to this, and we urge you to adopt the name Discovery Park. Most of you see me, most of you see me predominantly at zoning hearings, and so I'd like more information on how public participation will be accommodated during the age of the pandemic. The zoning hearings are restarting with the BZA hearing tomorrow, but as of now, I'm not aware of any information about how public participation will be handled at those hearings. Will there be a virtual option with video for presentations? What precautions will be taken for those who are required to attend hearings? For many years, the gold standard of public participation has been to attend these hearings with as many people as possible to demonstrate opposition or support. Clearly, that is no longer feasible. We understand that this might be an evolving response, but ask that you provide information now about the process that we should expect in the hearings immediately ahead. Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for your support of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Doug Tron? Mr. Tron?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners. I represent subdivisions, estates at Cornerstone and in Cobb County, in Powder Springs, and in the face of today's pandemics in Georgia, nationwide, and all that, I realize our issues and our problems is little trivial compared to all of that, and for that I apologize. But it's been a big issue for the last. I've been here 11 years. I've been here the longest of everybody. It's a big problem that we've had in our subdivision. We're a little bit higher on the mountain, so we understand we have some really good sunset views in the evening. For the people who drive up, take the pictures of the sunset and all that, we have absolutely no problems with that. The problems that we have are the nightly congregations of the teens and the kids who drive up at night, park there. They loiter, they drink, they throw beer bottles at people, they do drugs, they've had sex there, they crash and they litter, and the big issue is that park there bumper to bumper on both sides of the roads, whereas if one of us do need emergencies and things like that, no one can come up. No emergency vehicles, no county vehicles can come up, and this creates a big hazard with our subdivisions. We have 3 roads going in. We have Pindo's Path, Pindo's Place, and Pindo's Trail. Right now, I believe you have authorized the sign for the no parking signs for both Pindo Path and Pindo's Trail. And for that, we appreciate it. We requested the signs be put up on those roads, and I think even as of this morning, the stakes are being passed. The stakes are being put on the ground for Pindo's Path also, in addition to Pindo's Trail that you've authorized. We've had nightly, mostly on Fridays and Saturdays, we've had officers who drive up and monitor the place, and with that, that's great. But at the same time, since with no parking signs and things like that, the teens do park there, and then when they see the police officers, they know that the officers are not empowered to write tickets or do anything. So in a way, it's sort of a they see that and they let other teams know that, hey, it's okay to come up here to park to do things, because the police are just here to look at us to make sure we're not doing anything else, and that creates a bigger problem too, especially on Saturdays and Friday evenings where we have a lot of traffic. And this happens 365 days a year, nightly, more so in the summer, and especially more so during this pandemic when they're cooped up at home during the day and it's their time to unleash in the evening. The only times we really don't have anybody up here is when it snows or it ices, and that's about twice a year, 3 times a year. So that's been a big issue. So we appreciate that you are considering putting these no parking, no stopping, no standing signs on these roads. Another issue is that, obviously when they park up in the hill, when they leave down on Pindo's Trail going down the street, they speed, and at the top, when they start taking off, going down the bottom, they're probably reaching speeds of about 60, 70 miles an hour down the corner. We've got 4 houses down there with families, and then with these, they have kids on the road playing and all that, and we've had a couple instances where the cars have barely missed the kids and the parents on the road. And then additionally, when it's slippery, the cars have come down and crashed onto the mailboxes and things like that, and I'm sure you might have seen the videos from our neighbors emailing you that. So we're trying to see if there's a way that you could possibly consider putting speed humps on these roads at the bottom of Pindo's Trail, at least the slow cars going down there, and alleviate the problems, because this will create liabilities for the HOA, for the houses, for the teens who are driving, and perhaps even the county, since it's a public road right now. So in all of this, we appreciate your time and your consideration, and especially Commissioner Gamble for coming out and listening to our problems. And thank you for my time and for allowing us to speak to you and write you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tron.
Commissioners, the next speaker is Ray Thomas. Mr. Thomas.
Ray Thomas.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Thomas, you have 5 minutes.
Commissioners and staff. Hello, can you hear me? I hear some
Yes.
chatter in the background.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My name is Ray Thomas, and I'm the chair of the Mapleton Improvement Coalition. I'm also a resident of Legacy at the River Line subdivision located on Discovery Boulevard and Veterans Memorial Highway. I have 3 topics I'd like to comment on this morning. One is the upcoming park on Discovery Boulevard, 2, the Mapleton Town Square, and 3, the Cobb Community Foundation and charity. First, Discovery Park. You know, construction begun. I'm sorry. Our residents and the Mapleton Improvement Coalition started advocating for construction of this park for about 15 years now. And so we're very excited to know that the construction contract has been awarded, and we're starting to see some earth-moving equipment at the park recently. So I want to thank the commissioners and the Parks Department for moving forward with this project. The final piece now is the name. The name that's under consideration and that's on the agenda today is Discovery Park at the River Line. This name reflects the unity. It reflects the future and an appreciation for all the parks encompasses, including natural resources, historical resources, and connection to the Chattahoochee River. So today I am urging you to please adopt the name Discovery Park at the River Line. This name, a name has been controversial for some time, and so we hope that this will be resolved today through your vote for this name. Secondly, the Mapleton Town Square. I agree 100% with Robin Meyer's comments on the Mapleton Town Square. And again, I want to thank you and as well as the Parks Department for consenting for the new playground on the square. And finally, on the charities and the Cobb Community Foundation, we unequivocally support restoration of $1 million to the foundation to address the critical needs in our community, particularly at this critical time in our nation and our community. So please vote to restore the $1 million to help the charities out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Commissioners, our next speaker is Chris Peters.
Chris Peters, you have 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, welcome, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks, commissioners, for looking at this pot of money which has been showered down upon us from on high and, trying to figure out what the best approach is to get it to the most needy in our communities. I just want to say, first of all, I'm glad that we're looking at helping the truly poor and needy first and not our corporate 1%. In the past, too many times I've witnessed as money is handed out to the most wealthy and the most privileged members of our society instead of going to where it truly can make a difference. So I applaud you for taking this step today to try to help others. I realize it's a large responsibility, and I'm sure that you don't take it lightly. But just if I could make a few suggestions, one would be please do not employ contractors or consultants to hand out the money. I believe that is inefficient. It will inevitably result in some of the money not getting to where it needs to be. It will needlessly enrich those that are already fully capable of supporting themselves. And the other suggestion I would make is we need to start asking ourselves the question, where is this money coming from? It's not taxed. It's not tax money. It's being printed out of thin air by the Federal Reserve. And actions have consequences, unfortunately. The last time I went into a grocery store, there was no meat available. And if you run around, you can find it, I'm sure, but the prices are going up. And the reason why the prices are going up is because we're printing money. Now, I realize that none of us can probably do a lot about this right now, but I would ask that we all think about it and consider the fact that there will be a lot more people in need next year when the price of a loaf of bread is $20 and you can't find ground beef anywhere. The money printing has to stop. I don't know who can stop it, but I think someone has to start thinking about this. And I agree with Lance when he said it's not the right role for government to be deciding who gets money handed out from above. But I do think that these are extraordinary times, and I would say that, if we're going to be handing out money, at least give it to those who are truly in need. And in that light, I would say that this is only the first of the helicopter drops coming. I believe there's $180 million that was dropped on the county from the CARES Act for transit, and I have no idea how that money is going to be spent. I would simply ask that you guys follow the law, and unlike our Federal Reserve, which is breaking the law, which is illegally printing money in violation of black letter laws that Congress has forbid them from printing money. I'd ask that our Cobb County Commission and our wonderful Cobb County government follow the law in all regards with this money, this windfall that's being handed down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
The next speaker is Mitch Roden. Mitch Roden,
go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time to speak this morning. I will be brief. I wanted to call and express my support for the $1 million for nonprofits. I generally follow the same logic as Lance Lamberton outlined, that in terms of the role of government, and but as our previous speaker mentioned, this is not the normal times. These are not normal times. This is a unique time, and we have a significant need in our community of people who are already struggling, in the best economy in the world, and now with all that's happened are in really dire straits. And anyone who's had an opportunity to volunteer at any of our nonprofits or to see the reality of this will understand that this is a genuine and a real need. So I would encourage the commissioners to vote to fund the $1 million for nonprofits and to help those organizations which are helping the people in our community that really need it the most. So thank you very much for all you're doing, and that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Roden.
Commissioners, let me just check. I think the other two callers have dropped off. Are there any other callers that are available, Ms. Lindley? Okay. That would conclude a public speaking then portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go on to consent now. And we have 3 items to add to the consent agenda. And let me get them here. Okay, the first one is consent agenda number 51. To approve a contract, I make a motion that we add to the consent agenda number 51, a contract with Quality Recording Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $604,225, the replacement and maintenance of E911 recording system. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Burrow, is there any discussion? Okay, I believe I can see all the commissioners if you'd raise your hand and if you support this motion. Okay, I believe I see everybody, so it passes 5-0. I now make a motion to add non-agenda item number 52 to consent agenda to approve settlement of workers' compensation claim number SBWC 2012-021200 on behalf of Joseph Pina. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, Mr. Burrow. Do we have a discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. I believe I see everybody, so it passes 5-0. And then the third is to add agenda item number 53 to the consent agenda item. Authorize a settlement of DeKalb County and others versus HSBC North American Holdings, Inc., number 1:12-CV-03640-ELR, filed in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia pursuant to the direction and within the terms discussed in the executive session of May 11, 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burrows seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, please. And I believe I have everybody, so it passes 5-0. Okay, I'm going to let them scroll down the consent agenda item here before I ask for a vote on that.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few questions while we're scrolling through the non-agenda.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Commissioner Gambrill.
On number 12, did we get the amended agenda item in there to reflect all the charges and all the expenditures? This is the parks one.
The answer is, I believe, yes. I have the sheet in front of me here. Do you have the pink? Okay. Did you get the pink sheet, Commissioner Gambrill?
No, I did not, and it was not in my office this morning.
Commissioners, this is Pam. The sheets were all emailed to everyone, so that change was included. That addition was made.
Thank you, Pam.
You have other questions, Commissioner Gambrill?
No, I do not, Chairman.
Okay. All right, I believe we've scrolled through the consent agenda. I now make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as revised. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
I would like to note my opposition to number 14.
Okay, so noted, Commissioner Gambrill. Any other discussion? Hearing none, if you please raise your hand in support of this motion. I see all four of you, and McClure so passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to the regular agenda now. All right, first, I make a motion that we approve item number 30, that the Board of Commissioners approve emergency funding in the amount of $1 million to be administered by W. Frank Newton, Inc., WFN Consulting, for the purchase of food and for the funding of direct expenses related to food procurement, storage, and distribution. Authorize the fund balance appropriation amount of $1,065,000 to authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the memorandum of understanding, the third amendment to the grant administration agreement, and any other necessary documents. Do I have a second?
Second, and discussion.
All right, Commissioner Burrow, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we did have some changes on that. It's up to 1 million. And then we added a number 7 in the
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Burrow?
No, sir.
Okay, other members of the board?
I have some comments, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Ott?
Yes, as you know, previously I had concerns about this item, and I think that staff and you have made significant changes that I think addresses a lot of my concerns. I think, we keep hearing the term nonprofits. This is about food, and there are a lot of things in the memorandum of understanding that pretty much dictate that it has to be about food. There's a statement now that doesn't allow for trucks and other vehicles and things like that. It's just about food. And yesterday, listening to Commissioner Gambrill, and I talked to you and Debbie Blair, and we got added in there that as part of the requirements for the application by anyone seeking reimbursement or money for food, they have to include any previous grants that they've received and how much of that money they spent. Because as Commissioner Gamble mentioned yesterday, we don't need to be giving money to folks that have already gotten grant money and still have money to spend.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rott. Other comments from the board?
Yes, Chairman. This is Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I appreciate the board coming together to weigh this item and to address the great need that is currently within our community. There was a comment made, I believe, by Gary Bottoms that this is an unprecedented calamity. And I think that moves me, if not others, to look at how we support the well-being of our county differently. I think that in addressing this, there's a top-down and a bottom-up approach in how we address the $132 million. That certainly supporting businesses, which is something we're looking at, is going to help from an institutional perspective to help people get resources. But that bottom-up approach allows us to look at things from a grassroots perspective and to see that it's people that comprise enterprise, and that if their basic needs are not being met, which is food or even shelter, which we'll contemplate, that we will still continue to be in a situation that's as described as a calamity for our community. I do believe it is the role of local government to promote the general welfare of our public, of our community. And I'm certainly in support of this item. And as Commissioner Ott shared, this is not necessarily just going to nonprofits. This is going to help people who are in need of food. And if you've been out there over the past 7 or 8 weeks viewing the operations of these organizations, you will see our fellow Cobb citizens taking time out their day, sometimes waiting to do one of the most humbling acts, which is to ask for food. And this is not something that they are going into with pride or to take advantage, but to simply meet a human basic element, to take care of themselves and possibly their family members. And I've gone and I've seen the box of food that they get. I don't know how it will even last until the next time that they will get the next box of food. You know, I think what we're doing today is being mindful that our fellow Cobb citizens are in need of help, and that as we're doing all that we can to maintain our services, we are not going to overlook their humanity in the process. And so I appreciate the organizations that have stretched themselves financially to be there for our fellow members of our community. We're putting forward 1 million of 132 million. And I don't know how long that will even last, but it is something for us to show our fellow citizens that we care about them, and we are not going to allow our community to suffer in one of the most base ways that someone could suffer in our community, and that is through hunger. And it's easy to say that this is not needed when we have food in our stomachs. But if we ever had to deal with that, or be close to someone that wakes up and has to deal with that, I think we will be a little bit more moved to see what we can do as a county to to assist people in these circumstances. There's been some correspondence from nonprofits that have asked for different considerations to consider the work that they've done beyond April 1st. We've had correspondence from Must Ministries and also from Family Life Restoration Center, which represents our very largest of the large service organizations, to one of our more localized service organizations, recognizing that a lot of them have been stretched already from when the announcement was made on the 13th and when school closed on the 16th. I know certainly going back to April 1st will help, but again, if there's anyone on the board willing to reconsider, know that your fellow partners in the nonprofit community would be appreciative of that reconsideration to move that date back to the 16th when they began their heightened response to our government shutdown. Or excuse me, to our shelter in place.
Good. Any other comments, Commissioner Cupid?
No, again, I'm in support, and again, my question is if there's anyone else in support of moving the reimbursement date back to when these organizations had heightened response to food insecurity, starting from when schools are shut down on the 16th.
Yeah, I'll give it a second to see if any commissioner wants to jump in and support that. Any consideration for that? And I don't see any, Commissioner, but thank you for your comments.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. I hope that there will be support for this agenda item as is.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to get Commissioner Gamble. Do you have any comments before I just want to give you a chance to speak. All the other commissioners have spoken before I let Commissioner Gurrow come back around again.
No comments, Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Burrow.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to reiterate some of the comments that were made. With the community task force that we formed, we've seen the need of the food sources. The donations have really declined because people are out of work and have families to support, and with these unprecedented times. But also we've seen the community step up, and the demand has probably tripled, if not more, the need for food. So I am in support of this. And I think, I know we've had requests to go back to the March 13th date. But I think, with the way it's written now through September 30th, I think that will help. And, that $1 million may not even cover that time frame. We have to wait and see, but I'm comfortable with the April 1st date and see how that goes.
Okay. So, any other comments? I'll call a question. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I got one more.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, I kind of want to continue on something that Commissioner Burrell said. We're talking about all these nonprofits and other folks that have put out meals that may be coming and asking for reimbursement. What we haven't talked about, and unfortunately there hasn't been a list anywhere, there's a whole lot of organizations, restaurants, and groups that have brought food out to the doctors and the hospitals and the nurses and are not going to be asking for money back. So I think it would be nice, and if we could find a way to recognize all these organizations. It's one thing to talk about these organizations, the nonprofits, but we have made no effort to really recognize those groups that have taken food. For example, one is the Braves. They just started taking their food from the stadium. There's many, many others. So I think it would be important, and I would challenge Ross Cabot and Communications to come up with a list that we could post on the county website, thanking all these folks.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Commissioner. Thank you.
And one other thing, the MDJ is running good news stories, and we've been sending in those from food groups, food restaurants, and organizations that are feeding our first responders and healthcare workers. The healthcare, public healthcare, and police at Jim Miller Park. So they are doing these stories every week with good news stories in the community of people donating and doing good things, from masks to food and everything.
Okay.
So just send in your stories there and send in your newsletters too.
Okay, I appreciate the comments, but let's get back to the issue at hand here. So, seeing no other further comments, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. I see 3 other commissioners. All opposed to this motion, please raise your hand. And I see 1. So the motion passes 4-1. Okay, next one is I recommend the appointment of Randy Kreider as the new Public Safety Agency Director. I have a second. The second, Commissioner Burrow. Any comments from the board?
Yes, I have comments.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Ott.
As you and the other commissioners know, and a lot of folks, anybody that's watching know, that in the past I have been very much not in support of a public safety director. And in this particular case, what has changed is the agreement by you, Mr. Chairman, the county manager, and Mr. Kreider in changing the role of the public safety director. We don't need another agency head just in charge of fire, police, and 911. What we need is someone to kind of take a more global look at the county, create a strategic reserve. You know, this county is bigger than 4 states. And so I am happy that you and the county manager and Mr. Kreider have agreed that that is a direction that this position needs to go. And I think that'll be beneficial to the citizens of the county.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ott. Other comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment too.
Commissioner Burrow?
I am very pleased and happy to support Chief Kreider for this position. He has, as interim 2 times now, he has really stepped up, and in this pandemic, he has shown that he has the leadership and the skills to carry us forward. And I'm proud to be the liaison commissioner for public safety this year and look forward to working with him even more.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow.
Bless you, Randy.
Other comments?
Yes, congratulations, Randy. For one, it's commendable for when anyone steps up to serve in leadership, and appreciate those that did interview for this position. Randy, you have again shown the strength of your leadership in response to this particular epidemic, but even beforehand, in your level of thoughtfulness for opportunities across the different public safety agencies. I look forward to you continuing in that vein in this role, and look forward to working together with you as we move the county forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Cupid. Other comments?
Randy, I look forward to our continued courageous conversations, as you like to say, because I think those are definitely needed, and I appreciate you starting those and looking for you continuing those in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Gambrill. Okay, seeing no other comments, I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And it's very pleasure I announce that the motion is passed unanimously. Congratulations. And for those that are at home, we're going to agenda item 31. We've agreed yesterday to hold that for a further date. So with that, let's get into DOT. I believe Erica Parrish is somewhere on the screen.
Morning, Chairman.
Good morning, Erica.
Thank Thank you for the opportunity. So we'll have 13 items for you to consider this morning. And the first item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners authorize procurement of a system upgrade in an amount not to exceed $298,408 through a state contract with Transportation Control Systems for the current school flasher control system, project number E5040.
Okay, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. It passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners authorize procurement of a traffic signal pole and a mast arm in an amount not to exceed $10,680 for a safety and operational improvement on Beach Road, West Side Drive.
Commissioner Burrow.
Motion to approve.
Second. Commissioner Ott seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand, please. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners determine that circumstances are such that it is necessary to proceed with condemnation proceedings by declaration of a taking under OCGA 32-3-4, authorize the commencement of condemnation proceedings on 5 parcels on Kennesaw Mountain pedestrian improvements, adopt the resolutions and orders in form substantially similar to the attached and is approved by the County Attorney's Office.
Commissioner Gambrill.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cupid. Any discussion? Please raise your hand in support. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Sir, our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2776-TO number 2 to the 2018 Master Task Order contracts with Calyx Engineering and Consulting in an amount not to exceed $184,570 for engineering design of Anderson Mill Road sidewalk.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Who seconded that one?
Commissioner Ott.
Commissioner Ott, okay. Commissioner Gambrill, I see. All right, we'll continue the tradition here. All right. Commissioner Gambrill seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2778-TO number 2 to the 2018 Master Task Order contract with Lowe Engineers, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $275,392 for engineering design of Callaway Road sidewalks.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
We have a second. Commissioner Gambrill seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the Department of Transportation's pre-qualified list of engineering and associated specialty firms available to be utilized for the procurement of professional services for the 2020 to 2021 pre-qualification period, which will expire on May 11th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
The second. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 3 final to the contract with Baldwin Paving Company, a savings to the project in the amount of $765,302.42 for US 41 Cobb Parkway at Windy Hill Road intersection improvements and queue jump lanes.
Commissioner Arnott.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2539-TO number 1 to the 2018 Master Task Order contract with AECom Technical Services in an amount not to exceed $259,191 to complete a feasibility analysis and site planning study for the proposed Cobb Link Marietta Maintenance Facility expansion project.
Commissioner Burrow.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners authorize signalization of 3 intersections located at Austell Powder Springs Road at Mosley Road, Stallsboro Road at Schillings Road, and Mars Hill Road at Fords Road. Approve project number TR515-TO number 1 to the 2018 Master Task Order contract with Barge Design Solutions in an amount not to exceed $232,360 for engineering design of the signalization of the 3 intersections.
Mr. Gamble.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners authorize procurement of 2 rectangular rapid flashing beacons in an amount not to exceed $14,280.80 through a state contract with Utilicom Supply Associates for pedestrian improvements on Woodland Drive at Dickerson Middle School.
Commissioner Ott.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All right, please raise your hand by signaling support. And I see 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Paulette Tucker Enterprises, Inc., DBA Tucker Grading and Hauling, in an amount not to exceed $23,345.75 for pedestrian improvements on Woodland Drive, Dickerson Middle School.
Mr. Cupid.
So moved.
I see a second, Commissioner Gamble. Commissioner Gamble, did you raise your hand? You second that? There you go. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a note for the folks watching. This is in District 2. This is a follow-on to the previous agenda item.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2774-TO number 1 to the 2018 Master Task Order contract with Kimley Horn and Associates in an amount not to exceed $224,310 for engineering design of church road sidewalks.
Okay. Now, Commissioner Cupid. I think I got it right finally.
Okay. So
Commissioner Gamble. Commissioner Ron, I'm going to loosen my tie here, all right? If that makes you feel better.
All right, yeah, you better not wear it next time.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0.
And our last item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners adopt a resolution in support of Sweetwater Mission's submission of a Georgia 100 program grant application to the Atlanta United Foundation in partnership with the Local Initiative Support Corporation for Six Flags Parkway Gateway Improvements, project number X2611.
So if I ask Commissioner Ott to support this, would that balance it out?
Whatever.
Commissioner Cupid.
Second.
I have a second, Commissioner Ott. In discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to number 45 now. I believe we have Parks.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Our first item this morning is for the board to approve the naming of approximately 103 acres of county park property located on Discovery Boulevard in Mableton. This property, which runs for over a mile alongside the Chattahoochee River, was acquired in the early 1990s and master planned in 2018. Multiple groups of residents have provided input on the park name, and Discovery Park at the Riverline is being brought to the board for approval.
Okay, Commissioner Cupid.
yes, thank you, Chairman. As I shared yesterday, I want to thank the commissioners for your patience with this, for communicating with me and various members of the community. I do believe, as members of the Mableton Improvement Coalition shared, that this name does reflect the unity and the history of the park and the opportunity for it. Discovery Boulevard is the geographic place. However, the term discovery does usher in people to discover the various aspects of this beautiful feature within this community. The Riverline has historic connotation with recognizing the historical events that took place at this site. It also draws notice to the Chattahoochee River, which is located alongside this park. And grateful again for all the efforts that have been put forward towards this. I look forward to the community being able to enjoy this amenity by it being both complemented by this park project that Parks has been moving along for us, but also by the trail, which has been supported by multiple entities outside of the county to provide a pathway along the Riverline. So with that, I'd like to ask the Board of Commissioners support me in my motion to approve the naming of the park to Discovery Park at the Riverline.
Do you have a second? Commissioner Gamble, second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any comments? Did I miss something?
I was just going to say that this has been a work in progress, and I know Commissioner Cupid has met with various groups. I've met with some of the Mableton Improvement Coalition and other groups on this, so I think it's a good move, and I support it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? With that, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Congratulations, Commissioner Cupid.
Thank you.
Our final item is for the board to approve a contract with Century Industries Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $188,495 to replace the portable stage unit at Jim R. Miller Park under the 2016 Park Splosh program. The existing 30-year-old unit is no longer a safe alternative and is not roadworthy. So therefore, we ask the Board of Commissioners to approve the contract, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gamble. Any discussion? Call the question. Please raise your hand if you in favor of the motion. It passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, on to number 47, Sharon Stanley.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. Our first agenda item this morning is a joint request from Property Management and the Department of Public Safety. On August 28, 2018, the Board of Commissioners ratified the action taken in executive session and authorized the purchase of property from LGE Community Credit Union located at 430 Commerce Park Drive Southeast and the lease of the premises to the seller pursuant to the approved lease terms. On August 30th, 2018, the purchase of the property closed and a lease was entered into with LGE. On March 10th, 2020, the board authorized the extension of the lease term for the entire premise through April 30th, 2020. Beginning in May 1st, the tenant vacated all except the 3 drive-through lanes and 2,500 square feet of the first floor, with final lease expiration set to expire on October 31st, 2020. This request is for a third amendment to the lease, which will extend the lease expiration date of this limited area to November 30th, 2020. All other stipulations remain the same. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a third amendment extension and modification of the lease agreement with LGE Community Credit Union, the lease of property located at 430 Commerce Park Drive Southeast, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Burrow.
So moved.
Have a second. I didn't hear who that second was from.
Cupid.
Okay, Commissioner Cupid. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item this morning is a request for the board to approve a project agreement with Controlled Access, Inc. for installation of the county's enterprise access control and surveillance system at the new medical examiner facility. On November 13, 2018, the board approved master agreements with 3 pre-qualified firms, Controlled Access, Inc., Convergent Technologies, and OnePath, for adding additional departments and facilities to Cobb County's enterprise video surveillance and access control system. The 3 pre-qualified vendors were asked to submit quotes, and Controlled Access, Inc. was the lowest price responsive bidder. This is a SPLOST 2016 approved project under the Support Service Technology Improvements Work Program. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a project agreement with Controlled Access, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $109,433.50 for the installation of the county's enterprise access control and surveillance system at the new medical examiner's facility, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Our final item this morning is a request for the board to authorize the purchase of voice over IP system licenses greater than $100,000 under provisions of the Georgia Department of Administrative Services contract with Presidio. The county's VoIP system provides voice communications, voicemail, call center capability, and system administration. Our existing licenses are older versions and no longer supported by the vendor. This purchase from the Cisco Flex Enterprise Agreement model will bring VoIP licensing to current versions and provide additional licensing for public safety in the new medical examiner building. Project is partially funded by the 2016 SPLOST project, Public Safety Improvements Program. We request the Board of Commissioners authorize the purchasing director to purchase VoIP system licenses in an amount not to exceed $498,819.04 under provisions of Georgia Department of Administrative Services Contract 99999S SPD T201-20501 with Presidio and authorize the corresponding budget transactions.
Commissioner Ott.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I believe we're now down to commissioner comments. So I'll start out with, let's go alphabetically. Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Okay. I'm not sure if my pictures are going to get up on the screen or not, but here we go. I would first like to thank our first responders. Last week, the Northeast Cobb Business Association, they wanted to do something special for our first responders. And so they decided to feed the police precinct 4 and fire station 21. And Zaxby's generously donated lunch for our firefighters and police. The Zaxby's at Sandy Plains is a member of NCBA, and they donated the lunch. There were 50 lunches donated, sandwich, chips, coleslaw, and a cookie. So we're fortunate to live in such a caring community. Thank you to Zaxby's and the Northeast Cobb Business Association for your kindness. And we had police officers and firefighters join us and some of the folks from NCBA community there. And then on Monday last week, NCBA delivered breakfast to Police Precinct 4 and Fire Station 21. And Chick-fil-A Lassiter donated breakfast. And Acting Fire Chief Bill Johnson also was there. And then we delivered cookies. His daughter made cookies. I baked cookies. And we delivered cookies to Precinct 1 and Fire Station 8 last week as well. And this is our picture with the Superstation guys and gals for Precinct 1 and Fire Station 8. Thank you to all of our first responders for all that you do to keep our community safe. May is Military Appreciation Month, and this is when we unite to honor our current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces, including those who have died in the pursuit of freedom. Thank you to all who have served. Thank you to all of our veterans, and thank you for securing our freedom. God bless you. It's with great sadness that we lost one of our community affairs officers. And I'd like to offer condolences and sympathy to the family of Rivian Cole, affectionately known as RC. He was an exemplary officer who always had a smile for his coworkers and a heart for his community that he served. Our prayers are with Cobb Police family and his family and our public safety team. We will greatly miss him. Elections. This is a quick reminder that the primary election is June 9th. You can vote by mailing in your ballot, or you can drop off your ballot at a designated Cobb government facility. You can also vote in person at advanced voting when early voting starts next week. You can visit cobbelections.org for more information of these locations. Congratulations once again, and thank you to Public Safety Director Randy Kreider. We're blessed to have you as part of our Cobb team, and we look forward to working with you more in the future. Thank you to our entire Cobb government staff. You continue to do a fabulous job as we navigate through uncharted territory together, and your efforts are not unnoticed, and we appreciate you. So just visit our newsletters for more information, more detailed information every Friday, cobbcounty.org/Burl, or our last name. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Burl. Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, Chair. I may have missed some correspondence, but I'm just a little taken back over the passing of Officer Cole. It's just so important that we give each other flowers while we're here. And just appreciate the gift of life that we have every day, and the honor that it is to serve our county. I'm struck a bit deeply by this news, and in reflection of how he committed himself to caring about those in our community. Today marks the final day of Nurses Week, and there are people who are putting themselves on the front lines every day to help people who may have the greatest challenges with their health at this time. And so Nurses Week comes every year, but certainly this week is most profound to honor those who serve as a nurse. My grandmother was actually a head nurse of New Jersey Medical, and I know the toll that it has taken on her, and seeing her in the latter years of her life struggle from how she took care of so many, but probably did not take care of herself, but the hours that she did. Someone who worked sometimes 16 and 18 hours a day, working 2 nursing jobs at times. So thank you for all the nurses who are on the front line, and as the image shares, thank you so much for putting your heart into everything that you do. Another thank you, and I think particularly this pandemic has put us all in a position to be a little bit more grateful for the things that we have maybe taken for granted. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of our community partners for how you're stepping up every day. And thank you to our staff for continuing your service and keeping our county moving, and all of your assistants for helping us to be here at this meeting today. I'd like to thank the staff that helped the town hall meeting yesterday, and you taking time out of your evening after a very long day to answer some of the pressing questions of our community. Finally, thank you and congratulations to our graduates. This has probably got to be one of the most nuanced seasons for our students to be making this transition. But I want to congratulate you for the many years that you have dedicated towards your studies and for making it to this milestone. It may not be as clear as it was pre-COVID about what your circumstances will be post-graduation. But I do know that surpassing this milestone enables you to do more than you perhaps have had opportunity as you were pursuing your education. Receiving your degree opens up so many doors, and we're just so proud of you. And the achievements of our many graduates across the county who are bettering themselves through education. Thank you, Chair. And again, I'm struck by the death of Officer Cole, and my condolences, my deep condolences to his family and to those who work with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cupid. Commissioner Gambrell.
Thank you, Chairman. We have a slideshow coming up. Once again, I would like to take a moment to
you stole my picture.
Well, Mr. Ott, if you would have submitted one. I would like to acknowledge all of our county employees and their children who are graduating this fall. We have 95 of our employees that submitted pictures for us to share, and also names congratulating their students. Interestingly enough, when I did Read Across America back in March, the book that we read to the students was Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And in that book, it talks about the highs, the lows, and the recovery in life, and how you can go on based on your attitude. So with that, I wish the best to the class of 2020 and all of the families who are celebrating in new ways. It's only going to get better from here. So congratulations.
Yes. Okay.
I was just letting that. We have 95 names, Chairman.
Right, sure. Right. Oh, you're letting it scroll through. Okay, got you. All right.
I wasn't going to read them because we would have been here forever.
That's okay. I was tightening my tie again, and I realized what was going on here. So you still have the floor.
Okay. And then last Friday, Director Tanks and I were able to join our extension team as we drove around and congratulated our 10 graduating 4-H seniors. We had quite the caravan that went from north to south to east to west Cobb and saw everyone. And here are all the members who participated, from current staff to myself, Director Tanks, and also former 4-H members. So again, thank you for celebrating our 4-Hers. And that is all I have.
Okay, that's a wonderful collage, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Commissioner.
Come on, loosen the tie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Kelly, for putting up a picture of my daughter, Katie. We're very proud of her. First thing, I want to offer my condolences to Officer Cole's family. It's a very sad time. I just want to remind folks that the town hall that was originally scheduled for tonight in Smyrna was canceled, as everyone can imagine, but I just want to get the word out. Next thing I want to do is I want to thank Dr. Janet Memark and Lisa Crossman and all the Cobb Douglas Public Health personnel. I don't think anyone realizes how much time and effort they spend trying to keep us safe. Dr. Memark and I have a little thing where I keep saying to her that she needs to at least take an hour a day for personal time. And I think she has to force herself to do that. So I just want to do a public shout out to them for all the efforts that they have been putting in, making sure that we're safe. Also, those of you watching today realize and see that we finally have been able to get everybody on the screen at the same time. And that didn't happen without a lot of work by Sharon Stanley and our IS folks and Ross Cabot and the communications folks. I just want to give a shout out to them. It has been a lot of effort on their part. I think we spent 3 or 4 different sessions online yesterday just trying to get all this to work. So I just want to thank them for all their efforts. And I see Randy's in the picture. So congratulations, Randy, on your new position. Be careful what you wish for. You might be loosening your tie also. And my final comment is that I want to thank my assistant, Kim. Some of you have seen, I know the chairman sees them, the newsletters that she puts out. I will tell you that it takes almost an entire week to get all of it together. Last week, we did a service to GIS and all the folks and congratulated them and thanked them. They have been recognized nationally. This week, we're going to be talking about water. It's going to take actually a couple weeks to recognize water because there are so many different things that they do for us. So just a shout out to Kim.
We don't do slides for this meeting because we spend a lot of time getting them into our newsletter. And those of you who don't get our newsletter, please sign up because there's a lot of useful information in there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Ott. I'd like to use some of my time and bring Director Kreider on to make some comments.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the board for their confidence in their vote today. And obviously, I am overwhelmingly humbled. I never dreamed 38 years ago when I put on a badge as a firefighter that I would be where I am today. And for God to bless me like He has to work with men and women, and not only in public safety here in Cobb County, but all of our departments. As I see things that are being done countywide on a daily basis, it just blows me away, especially during this difficult time that we're going through right now. And I just want to thank all of the folks out at Fire for the support that I've had there for now almost 30 years. And it's going to be very difficult to walk away from that because I have no plans on continuing to try to be the fire chief. I'll let the fire chief be the fire chief. And Commissioner Ott alluded to this earlier, that during this difficult time, it's caused me to recognize some greater needs in our community that I want to try to bring a lot of our stakeholders together to keep all of Cobb safe. And it's not just our men and women who work in public safety, but it's for our community. And I want to work with those stakeholders like Wellstar, Public Health, our nonprofits, and those people that provide the overall safety for our residents and our visitors here in Cobb County. So I look forward to serving. That's what my prayer is daily, that God would remind me that I am a public servant, and that's what keeps me grounded. And so again, board, I thank you for your support. I thank you for your confidence. And I have to also give a shout out to my boss, Dr. McMorris, through this difficult time that we've been going through. We've been in lockstep about what's been going on. Yes, there's been some very difficult decisions that we've had to make and that we're still making. But we're going to try to stay focused. And I've always heard to keep the main thing. And that's what we're going to focus on. And so with that, to all of the men and women in public safety, I'm here to serve you and be here for your advocate to go before our board and try to get the things that we need in order that we might serve the public to best of our ability. So again, thank you for all of those who have sent me texts and emails this morning. And I'm going to try my best to do the best job for this county that I can.
Okay. Thank you, Director Kreider. First time without the word interim on there, so congratulations and welcome aboard. There were a number of thank yous given today, and I'd just like to add to those. I want to thank you to all the people in Cobb County who've been making masks for our staff and other members throughout the community. It's just been astounding to see the support and the number of masks being delivered to various agencies here in the county. And I want to thank the people in Cobb County for bringing out their sewing machines and their seamstress skills and really doing something which I think is really important, which is if you're in public to wear a mask. I've also been struck by all the unsung heroes that are now all of a sudden being discovered, that have always been there in our lives, and we just took them for granted. And people like the truck drivers, the grocery store workers, the restaurant workers, the mail workers, those who do waste management, warehouse workers, all those people who work behind the scenes to make our lives the quality it is here in Cobb County. So I'm sure I've left out some there, but I just want you to know that you're all in our daily prayers as you get out there in this very new environment that's going to be with us for a while. So I just want to remind everybody that the virus is still out there. It's still very virulent. I think you know what the precautions are, and I'm really, really glad to see that people are out there, wearing masks, still practicing social distancing and trying to work in this new world. But as you know, this government's here to serve you, and anything you want, just, the government is still working in the background. If you have any problems at all, call us or 911 and we'll show up. I want to thank the staff and the commissioners also. There's really, I thought, very successful virtual town hall, first virtual Board of Commissioners meeting. I look forward to doing them again in the future. So with that, we're adjourned.